Hi there. I want to take some time to go through basic vocabulary that's going to be appearing throughout this class. And I compiled a list of terminology. This is the Japanese and the English translations, and these terms are going to be used interchangeably throughout the class. That it'd be very beneficial for you to familiarize yourself with the terminology as well as the equipment and the parts of the drums that we'll be playing on. So running through this list for pronunciation, and you can feel free to read through or repeat after me. First on the list is bachi, and those are drumsticks. And so I mentioned in the introduction video that these are the type of bachi that we're using to play the taiko. So again, this is bachi. And next on the list, there is chudaiko. And chudaiko is actually pictured right here, this barrel-shaped drum. And chudaiko is a medium-sized barrel drum. Another type of drum you'll be seeing in class is called the shime daiko. So shime daiko. And shime daiko is a small roped drum that we can actually tune. Often the shime daiko is used as a timekeeper, so you'll be seeing that drum used during our ensemble just to keep a very basic, like straight backbeat or a swing backbeat. So once again, it's called shime daiko. And then a third type of drum that we see in our ensemble is called the o daiko. So the o daiko is a very large drum that most people are seen playing solo on. So again, o daiko. In our class, when we're meeting in person, we learn how to play on a naname stance. And so naname means a slant style stance that is used for playing the chudaiko. If you are studying online, and if we get to the point where we don't return in person, then you'll be introduced to a style that's called the beta style. It's not on this list, but it's just good to know what beta style is. So again, going through the list of the vocabulary for pronunciation, there is bachi, chudaiko, shimedaiko, odaiko, and naname. During our class, you're going to be learning how to play on a chudaiko, which is this medium-sized drum right here. In North America, most of the drums and the drums that you'll be seeing in our class for that matter are made out of upcycled wine barrels, whereas in Japan, these drums are actually made out of a solid piece of tree trunk. So it's hollowed out and then it's shaped into this barrel shape, and skins are put on with tacks. So going through the anatomy of a chudaiko, we have the do, which is the body or the shell of the taiko. This is the wooden part. And then next on the list is fuchi, which is the rin of the taiko. And the rin, again known as the fuchi, is used by taiko players to create very crisp sounds like a ka or a kara. Those are kind of like clicks. Mimi are the ears, like ears. If you're familiar with Japanese, mimi means ears, and that's what these little decorative loops are. They're used for stretching the cowhide onto the drum. And then bio are the tacks. So these little black tacks are used to affix the hide to the dole, which is the body of the drum. So once again, bio. And the cowhide or the leather is known as the kawa. And also on here on this list, we have the hara of the drum. And again, it's like body parts. So if you're familiar with Japanese, hara is your stomach. And so hara is the center of this playing surface on the kawa, the cowhide or the leather. One thing that is not on this list is this handle right here. It's called a kan, K-A-N. And oftentimes it's just a decorative item. We sometimes use it to lift and carry the drums, but we prefer not to put so much stress on such an intricate item. Okay, so again, this part, the handle is called the kan, K-A-N. And again, going through this list. So do, 口、耳、秒、皮、肌. And remember, the handle is called a kan, and this overall large barrel type taiko drum is a chudaiko. So I ask that you familiarize yourself with all of these names and the terminology so that you can understand what's going on in class. I use both Japanese and English interchangeably, so it's just helpful if you know both of the terms, Japanese and English. Okay, next, second page of the vocabulary list. So this is a lot more important, or I mean recurring in our class while we're in person and getting instruction on how to fix like our playing style and our stance. So first off is kata, which is stance. And if you're familiar with martial arts, a lot of this terminology does show up in the practice of martial arts too. So kata, right? It's like the stance that you get into when you're playing taiko. We don't just stand up straight. You've got to brace yourself for a sturdy foundation when hitting the taiko drums. Okay, so again, kata. Next is ki, which is the energy that flows throughout your body. So ki. Third on the list is ki-ai or kakegoe. And those are verbal expressions of energy that help keep time. I like to think of them as verbalized rest even, so they oftentimes show up in pieces during parts where we're actually not hitting the drum, but it's just rest or, you know, blank parts in the song. So again, ki-ai or kakegoe. Up next, kuchi shoga. So kuchi shoga is the singing of taiko notation, and this is basically how we learn how to play taiko, and this is why there is no musical experience or the ability to read music necessary for people who want to learn how to play taiko. We teach everybody who wants to learn through a system of kuchi shoga, which is like an oral tradition. You know, so everything that we can sing with our voices can actually be played onto the drum, and you'll learn more about that in another video. So remember that kuchi shoga is a very, very important aspect of learning taiko, not just in the remote learning environment. Up next is ji-uchi. Sometimes it's shortened to just ji, J-I, and that's the bass beat. So connecting that to the vocabulary on the first page, ji-uchi is oftentimes played on the shimedaiko, and you'll recall that the shimedaiko is that small roped drum that is used to keep time. So again, ji-uchi or ji is the backbeat or the bass beat. I have an example here of a kakegoe or a ki-ai, which is known as sore, and sore means ready, let's go. Okay, so one more time, sore. And I'm going to run through this list for pronunciation. So starting with kata, you can repeat after me if you'd like. So kata, kata, ki, ki, ki-ai, or kakegoe. So ki-ai or kakegoe. Kuchi shoga, kuchi shoga. Ji-uchi or ji. So ji-uchi or ji. And then sore, sore. Great. Okay, so this next section of greetings and numbers are terms that you really, really, really ought to familiarize yourself with, because if I had to pick out of this list, all of these 2 pages, you would actually be saying these words and numbers, these phrases and numbers right here under greetings and numbers. And so really practice this, okay? Every time we are together in class or online, we start our classes in a circle and a bow, and we say yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Okay, よろしくお願いします。So breaking that down, it's よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いします。And when you get a bit more fluent and comfortable with it, よろしくお願いします。Okay. The second greeting is done at the end of our classes. And similar to the beginning, we circle up, we do a bow. And this is a way of just thanking everybody for their time and their hard work. And that is お疲れ様でした。お疲れ様でした。Now, if we're going to break that down, it is お疲れ様でした。So once again, slowly. お疲れ様でした。お疲れ様でした。Okay, so once again, going through the greetings. First, at the beginning of the class, よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いします。And then, at the end of class, お疲れ様でした。So, お疲れ様でした。お疲れ様でした。お疲れ様でした。Okay? And it takes time to become familiar with the pronunciation and just the action of getting in a circle and bowing together. But we work on it. So when we're together, we also run through this vocabulary several times so that we gain some comfort and fluency with it. For the numbers, very important that you can at least memorize to count to 8. I just put 10 up here because it's a nice round number, but everything that we do in our class is actually based on an 8 count. So usually you'll hear me say, okay, I'm going to give you like an 8 count backbeat, or we're going to do this like over 8. And it's important that you can understand how to count to 8 in Japanese, because we seldom count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in English. We use Japanese in the class. And just going through the numbers, again, I'm just going to read through the numbers and then you can repeat after me. So make sure that you memorize this as well. Okay, so starting with number 1, it's ichi, ichi. Number 2, ni, ni. Number 3, san, san. Number 4, shi, shi. Number 5, go, go. Number 6, roku, roku. Number 7, shichi, shichi. Number 8, hachi, hachi. And just for fun, number 9, cute, cute. And number 10, ju, ju. Okay, and when we are meeting in class, we practice counting these numbers when we do our stretches. Because Taiko is a very movement intensive activity, we often get into a circle and do warm-up stretches before we actually get to hitting the drums. And so while we're doing our stretches, we use that opportunity to count in sets of 8 as a way to familiarize ourselves with just feeling an 8 count and being able to count to 8 in Japanese. So I'm going to go through this list, at least just counting up to 8, and you can join in with me to familiarize yourself with the pronunciation. So we'll go a bit slowly as we count through these numbers 1 through 8. So ready, starting with number 1. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi. Okay, one more time, beginning with number 1. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi. Okay. All right. And for this vocabulary module, so I want to stress the importance, especially on this second page, of being familiar with the greetings and the numbers. So these are the terms that you should be comfortable with speaking, saying them out loud. You're going to be expected to at least like say, yoroshiku onegai shimasu, otsukare sama deshita, and counting 1 through 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so by the time week number 3 rolls around, which would be the, I think it's like January 18th would be the week 3 meeting, you will be responsible for knowing the greetings and the numbers. Okay, so I might ask you to say that out loud. As for the rest of the terms on the paper on this document, you should be familiar with them, but I'm not going to ask you to have to know like all of these like tiny intricate parts of the drum, but you should be at least like familiar with them. If I ask you, you should be able to point to something on the drum, okay? But as far as being able to speak or verbalize things, speaking out loud or in front of the class, you should be able to have some fluency with these greetings as well as the numbers 1 through 8. Okay, so if any questions, let me know. You can always email me or contact me through Canvas, but for the time being, please work through this vocabulary module. And once again, greetings and numbers are 2 of the points on this paper that I will hold you accountable for. All right, so with that, good luck with your studies, and I will look forward to seeing you in person when we get to that point. Thanks a lot.